Hello folks, L.A. Little here with you today. I'm keeping with some of the questions, some of the feedback that I've gotten saying, hey, tell me about the financials. What do they look like, you know? And so I'm going to take a look at those, and the question really in my mind is, you know, what are they telling us? Is this an opportunity, or is this some sort of a bull trap? And so let's look at that, and let's look at what it might mean. I'm going to start with the regionals. And if you like what I'm doing here, please give me a shout out, give me a like, you know, hit the subscribe button, hit the alert button so that you can get updated when I drop one of these videos. Share it with your neighbors, share it with your friends, share it with your enemy. I don't care, just share it. And if you will, you know, take the time to give me a comment and tell me what you're looking at, what you're thinking, maybe what I should be thinking, and you know, it gives me ideas about what you want. Getting on with the video here, KRE. I'm going to start with the regionals, then I go to the big financial centers. So, you know, last week, just for context here, last week, you know, you had the big spike down to start the day. And in this particular chart, right, that is this particular day, even though on Friday it got hit as well. You can see the volume was swelling on those 2 days, Thursday and Friday. But that was the Japanese quake, you know, and the issues with them trying to raise their interest rates and what it did to the carry trade. Now, if I look over here at the weekly chart, you can start to see what's going on. Matter of fact, let's start with the monthly chart, because the monthly chart has a better picture. Because on the monthly chart, you know, if you remember, you know, way back in 21, 22, you went up and you created this range up here, right? And then you had the big breakdown bar. And this is when things started to dive in 23. You got volume escalation, and then you start clawing your way back up, right? Set a swing point high, you break it here. Now you're doing the retest regen. What I mean by retest regen, that means that after a breakout, buyers and sellers eventually, usually within 6 bars, usually the first couple of bars actually, come back in and test where they broke out from, which is that swing point high. This is that test. It's taking place right now. So that's the bullish retest regen. But on top of that, see this swing point low here and this one over here? Well, when you have a swing point low that was broken, and this one actually was broken right there, when you have that situation, right, let me get rid of these, that sets up a retest regen bearish, and in this case way more than 6 bars, and when that happens, probability is extremely high that it's going to try to regenerate lower. Now how far, how fast, all that kind of stuff, that's more of a question. You know, but that's what this is doing, right? So this kind of is like, if you will, kind of a bear flag if you're into that kind of stuff. So anyway, the point is you're back up there, and now the question is which one's going to win out? Is this bullish retest regen going to win out, or is this bearish retest regen going to win out? The trend has been down, right? Now it's starting its way back up, but it's still sideways. You can see the sideways mark right here, as a result of breaking that swing point high. So it was down, now it's sideways, and question which way is it going to go. So that's long term. That's saying, hey, in general, kind of indecision, right? Maybe it goes higher, maybe it doesn't. My personal belief, it probably doesn't, but that's my own personal belief, and I'll give you my ideas of why here in a bit. These are retest regens here. There's one there, there's another one up here, right? There's another little one right there, and it's coming back in to test all of them. Odds are this thing's going to bounce out of here, right? Real question will be is, can it get back up into this and make it a second test? Because the second test changes the dynamics, because then the odds are not nearly as hard, right, that this thing's going to regenerate to the downside. Matter of fact, you're starting to get the odds to where it may not. Now, long-term time frame means a lot more than short-term time frame, so I'll be watching very closely to see whether or not this thing can get back up in the swing point low. That low is 56.09, and it does it by end of this month. So that's the picture, right? And then of course you got some negativity here, gap, all that stuff, bearish retest regen. Folks, this thing's not going anywhere in my opinion, and my guess is longer term, because the monthly takes precedent, probably a good chance that it's probably going to wade back down to the other side. Let's look at the big financials. Now they're a lot stronger, and they consist of the big financial banks, you know, like JP Morgan, Berkshire Hathaway, right? Those are the two big weightings. But let's just look, to start with, let's look at XLF, which is right there. Now I just pulled these numbers. These are percentage weightings on them. So if we go here and look at this, right, it's over a bullish retest. I mean, it's over a bullish breakout, which was right here. So this thing's bullish, right? So you break out on this bar, you grind away, and now you're up there trying to break higher. Recognize it's got a lot of stiff resistance trying to break higher, though. It's not easy. It's not having an easy time doing it. Let's look at the weekly, and I'm actually going to pull it up again because I closed it. Here's the weekly. The weekly is doing the bullish retest regens, and the bullish retest regens are suggesting that this thing's going to try and bounce back up, right? Because so far it has held on both of them. Now they're fairly narrow, but it has held. If these fell, right, you got two swing point lows that are fairly well, you know, co-located. They're not that far apart. So you could get a faster move to the downside if this fails. I would also say that you had some volume build up as you broke back into these. So you tested with more volume on the way down, and that's probably going to result in another test to come. And so on a weekly basis, right, long-term bullish, weekly basis, it's much more iffy. It's still bullish, right? No question. It's not, you know, is it bullish or not? It is bullish. It's certainly got an uptrend. The last bullish prior to here was here, and here's a reconfirmation there, even though it was a nasty little bar, and then here's the retest. If it fails, though, if it gets back underneath this bar and that bar, right, then you got some problems, right? That says it's a bull trap. And here's the daily, and I wouldn't pay too much attention to the daily. That's where the big stuff is. Now let's look at just a couple stocks inside of it, and then we'll wrap this up. We're going to look at the first two, which is the biggest weightings, which is Berkshire Hathaway, bullish retest regen, long-term bullish, and then JP Morgan, also long-term bullish, and then also bullish retest regen on the weekly time frame. And actually it didn't even have swing point highs. It never got 6 bars to print one on either of these two, but you can kind of consider them as kind of highs, right, because they're kind of defined that way. But here's your long-term bullish. So the real key is going to be do you see the XLF breakdown? You know, do you get a case where the XLF itself breaks back underneath those two retest regens and goes after and potentially breaks those swing point lows? If so, that's going to also fit in with what we saw on the KRE, and that would say this is a bull trap. Big picture, equity picture, folks, this thing is set to go sideways at best for an extended period of time. I would think 8 to 10 weeks. So I think this is dead money if you're playing with it. I think you want to let it develop and tell you what it's going to do. You know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe these things don't break. Maybe these retest regens hold. But, you know, look over here at your MTTFs, right? 69. That says one of these should break, and because they're co-located, good chance you break them both. And then it's just a question of does it escalate to the downside or not. And so I would be very careful if you're trying to play this at this particular time. All right, that's it. Have a great one. Take care. See you next time, folks.